President Volodymyr Zelensky says Russia has committed the worst war crimes in Europe since 1945. During a graphic address to the United Nations, he accused Vladimir Putin's forces of creating mass starvation and shooting and raping civilians. It comes after images emerged from the town of Bucha in recent days, following the retreat of Russian forces, showing bodies of civilians lying in the streets and mass graves. Moscow says the pictures shown by the world's media are staged and fake, and that no civilians suffered any kind of violence while Russian forces were in control of the area. President Zelensky is also warning that the number of dead in Kyiv's other surrounding towns and villages, like Borodyanka, could be even higher. Police there say they believe hundreds of people are buried beneath the rubble of civilian apartment blocks destroyed by Russian shelling, and survivors were prevented from escape. Jeremy Bowen has been to Borodyanka and he sent us this report.
The destruction in the centre of Borodyanka is the worst for its size I've seen in any of the towns around Kyiv, including much fought over Irpin and Bucha. The worst killing in Borodyanka might have come when these flats were destroyed. A line of them stood here. You can see the gaps.
After you, mate. Yeah.
Next door to the rubble, Dmytro Stashevsky inspected his shop.
This is your shop? Apteka, medical, pharmacy. It's a pharmacy. Yeah. It's destroyed. Everything's gone.
We went upstairs where his wife Svetlana was trying to clean up his mother's flat. Their family is safe, but not their friends in the destroyed building next door.
They were all our neighbours. Shortly after the airstrike, people nearby heard some voices shouting for help. Russian soldiers stopped them digging. They threatened to shoot if they tried.
Dmytro left 30 others in the cellar before the strike. When he went back in the morning, it was full of rubble. All 30 are missing. You're lucky to be alive, aren't you? Yes, he said, my wife, mother and daughter were praying for me. This is a civilian block of flats. Now, only a ballistic missile or an airstrike can do this sort of damage. Under the laws of war, killing civilians and wanton destruction are both crimes, unless it can somehow be proved that that was a military target. Close by, local people were getting some food, organized by their priest, who said he'd seen the Russians shooting civilians.
You saw civilians being killed by a Russian sniper?
It was the 2nd of March near the petrol station. We were driving along, followed by 2 civilian cars. They just shot them. It was an execution.
Most people here left during the Russian occupation. Svetlana Gontar said coming back made her empty and scared. Tell us what the town was like before. Eventually, she said it was very nice, very green. Hundreds of people could be lying dead under the rubble, say the police. Once the heavy lifting gear arrives, they'll know more. Jeremy Bowen, BBC News, Borodyanka.
Well, the many images of bodies lying in the streets of the city of Bucha have caused global revulsion, and now Ukrainian human rights officials say there may be as many as 300 corpses buried in a mass grave near a local church. The news comes as fresh stories of barbarity are emerging. Yogita Limai has been back to Bucha and sent us this report.
Destruction and death are expected during a conflict. But what's happened in Bucha violates the rules of war and of humanity. Irina Abramova lived peacefully here with her husband until the 5th of March. Then, a Russian tank pulled up outside. Their home was shelled. As it was burning, Russian soldiers shouted, calling the couple outside.
They wanted to know where the Nazis are. They said we have an evil government with Nazis in it, and we should be punished for it. I said we're not guilty, we're just humans.
Minutes later, her husband Oleg, a 40-year-old welder, was shot in the head. Russia saying it's not killed civilians deliberately in Ukraine. What do you want to say about that?
Що ви можете сказати на це? Який меседж ви хочете?
Мене чоловік навіть не служив у армії.
My husband wasn't a soldier. He'd never held a gun. He was a peaceful man. They took him from our home in his slippers, asked him to take his shirt off, made him kneel on the ground and killed him.
Це не люди. Це звірі.
She wears Oleg's wedding band around her neck. She says it's all she has left of him now, along with the shirt and sweater he was wearing the day he died.
Я хочу, щоб весь світ знав.
I wanted the whole world to know that the Russians are killers. They're not human. They're killing women, children, civilians.
She shows us the spot outside their home where Oleg was killed. Bloodstains still visible, where his body lay for weeks.
He was the best man in the world. He was kind and caring. He was the love of my life. I could give anything to bring him back.
The more you talk to people in Bucha, the more you learn of the terror that this town lived through. A local resident told us that a woman riding a bicycle was shot on this street. In a house down this road, a man was trapped in his basement for weeks without much food. He dared not go anywhere because there was a Russian tank standing outside. In the backyard of a church in Bucha, the bodies of people who died here continue to pile up in a shallow trench. Ukrainian and Russian soldiers and ordinary people, together in a single grave. More than 300 civilians have been killed here. Only a few have so far had the dignity of a proper burial. Yogita Lamai, BBC News, Bucha.